Hello and welcome to the Scholar's Mentor. In today's video, we will solve the research-based questions that appeared in the December 2025 UGC NET Home Science question paper. So for these videos where I solve the previous year question papers, I want you to sit along with a pen and paper. As we read the question and the four options together, I want you to pause the video, solve the question by yourself, and then play the video again to see that if your chosen answer is the correct or the incorrect answer. In case your answer turns out to be incorrect, please follow along the little tips and tricks that I share with you so that you can arrive at the correct answer today and also on the actual day of the exam. I hope these videos are helpful to you to learn the concept and apply them during the exam. If you want me to solve research-based questions from other question papers, do let me know in the comments below. So let us begin this video and let me share my screen. I hope you can see the screen now. So as I mentioned, we will be solving the research-based questions from the home science paper that appeared in December 2025 attempt. So let's begin with the first question. You can also find the question IDs in these question papers. So if you match the December 2025 home science paper, you can find these question IDs there. So the first question of research is identify the correct statements. Statement A is panel study is a type of longitudinal study. Cohort study is a type of longitudinal study. Panel study is a type of cross-sectional study. Cohort study is a type of cross-sectional study. The four options that are given to you are A and B, A and D, B and C, C and D. Okay, so before you go on to solving this question, you have to understand that out of the four statements, only two are correct and two are incorrect. Now, all the four statements talk about either panel study or cohort study, and either longitudinal study or cross-sectional study. So you have to find out whether panel study and cohort studies are both longitudinal or both cross-sectional, or one longitudinal and one cross-sectional. Okay, so basically this is a direct question. They are testing whether you have enough knowledge of the concept of these study designs. Let's see what the correct answer is. The correct answer is option 1, that is statement A and B. Now, I'm not going to explain what a panel study and cohort study is because that is beyond the scope of this video. But I want you to understand that these two study designs are both longitudinal. I have given you a short snippet here on the screen where you can see the difference between panel and cohort. But basically, they are both longitudinal studies, and hence option 1 becomes the right answer. Moving on to the next question. Okay, so this is a question with four options. In a research study, a group that experiences the manipulated independent variable is generally known as what? Placebo group, control group, independent group, and experimental group. Now read the question carefully. They want you to identify which group? The group that experiences the manipulated independent variable. Now, out of the dependent and independent variable, you can only manipulate the independent one. Now, what is that group called which experiences this? Is it placebo? Is it control? Is it independent? Or is it experimental? So the correct answer for this question is option 4, experimental group. Moving on to the next question. So this question asks us to identify the discrete variables. Statement A is number of students in each class of a school, number of heads obtained in 10 tosses of a coin. Statement C, marks scored by students in an objective type examination with negative marking for incorrect responses. And the last statement is height of students in a school. The four options are ABC, AB, ABD, and CD. Now think about it. They want you to identify discrete variables. So you have to identify what discrete variables are, right? A, B, and C. Now, if you remember the concept of discrete variable and continuous variables, discrete variables are basically whole numbers, right? So they don't have a fraction or a decimal. On the other hand, continuous variables are usually seen in decimal in height, weight, and BMI. So in these four options, the option D, height of students, can be say for example 150.7, 163.8. So that is not a discrete variable. In fact, it's a continuous variable. The other three options, whether it is number of students in a class, number of heads obtained in 10 tosses of a coin, will always be a whole number. And the statement C becomes a tricky one because the keyword here is in an objective type examination. Remember that in a subjective type examination, the teacher has a choice to give you, say, 4.5 out of 5, right? So that doesn't stay discrete at the end of the day. It becomes a continuous variable. But in an objective type question, just like the UGC net, for every correct answer, you get 2 marks. In certain exams, for every correct answer, you get 1 mark. So in objective type examination, mostly the option is the correct answer will fetch you a whole number mark. So statement A, B, and C talk about discrete variables, and hence the first option becomes the correct answer. Moving on to the next question. Arrange the following statistical measures in increasing order of their values for a given data set. 6th decile, 3rd quartile, median, 70th percentile. Choose the correct answer from the options given below. Now, as you can see here that they have given you 4 numbers, not at the same base level or denomination level, but they want you to arrange them in increasing order of their values or in ascending order. Now, 6th decile, 3rd quartile, median, and 70th percentile. I want you to arrange these numbers or maybe even convert these numbers first into a common base or denomination and then try arranging them in the increasing order. If you need more time to solve this question, I request you to pause the video, take your time, solve the numbers, and then play the video again to see if your answer is the correct answer or not. So let's see the correct answer. The correct answer is option 2, which is CADB. Now I will tell you, if you got stuck somewhere here, we will convert all the 4 numbers into percentiles. Okay. So the first option, which is, or the first statement, 6th decile, can also be treated as 60th percentile, right? So your 3rd quartile, when we divide the numbers into quartiles, we divide them into 4 equal halves. So the 3rd quartile is nothing but your 75th percentile. Median is nothing but the halfway point. So that becomes your 50th percentile. And the last one is 70th percentile as well. So if you arrange them in increasing order, your median or 50th percentile will be the first one, followed by 6th decile or 60th percentile. The third one will be the 70th percentile. And the highest number of these 4 is the 3rd quartile or the 75th percentile. Now you see how CADB becomes the correct answer. I hope you understood how we solve this increasing order of numbers. Moving on to the next question now. Student's t-test is useful for testing what? Significance of difference between 2 sample means, independence of attributes, significance of correlation coefficient, analysis of variance. Choose the correct answer from the options given below. So is it A, B, B, C, C, D, or AC? Okay, so you have to know what is the practical application of student's t-test here. So just see which 2 pairs you feel are the right answer for this question. Is it A and B? Is it B and C? Is it C and D, or A and C? I hope you have solved this question. So let's see what the correct answer is. Yes, the correct answer is the 4th option, which is AC. Right? So any student's t-test is used to compare the difference between the 2 means. It will also tell you the significance of correlation coefficient, whether the dispersion or the spread of variables in these 2 groups is similar or different. Moving on to the next question. Which of the following is a null hypothesis? So you have 4 options here. Let me read them one by one. There is a difference in the proportion of male and female fashion professionals in the study population. The greater proportion of females than males are fashion professionals in the study population. There is no significant difference in the proportion of male and female fashion professionals in the study population. There are twice as many female fashion professionals as male fashion professionals in the study population. If you remember the concept of null hypothesis, You might also remember that there is one keyword that one always looks for when we talk about null hypothesis. Identify which statement of the four has that keyword, and that will help you to solve this question. I hope you have chosen your answer. So let's see which is the correct answer. It is indeed option 3. There is no significant difference in the proportion of male and female fashion professionals in the study population. If you look at it, the second part of all the four statements are immaterial here because we want to find out which one is the null hypothesis. So always look at how the statement begins. The first one says there is a difference in the proportion. The second one says the greater proportion of females than males. And the last one says there are twice as many female fashion professionals. In a null hypothesis, we are trying to predict or hypothesize that the two groups are almost the same. There is no significant difference. That is the null hypothesis. If you are going to make any other prediction, that becomes an alternate hypothesis. So null hypothesis is always associated with no significant difference. Moving on to the next question. Which of the following is a type of non-probability sampling technique? Quota sampling, cluster sampling, stratified sampling, or random sampling. So three of them are probability sampling techniques and one is the non-probability sampling technique. Is it quota, is it cluster, is it stratified or random? So if you have chosen your answer, let's see what the right answer is. It is indeed quota sampling. If you see on the screen, I have presented the probability and non-probability sampling techniques. So only quota sampling falls in the non-probability sampling. All the others are probability sampling methods. Moving on to the next question. Which of the following is used to test differences among the means of the populations by examining a variation within each of these samples relative to the amount of variation between the samples? Is it t-test, ANOVA, chi-square, or coefficient of correlation? Now, this is indeed a very heavy question. If you look at it, there are a lot of keywords given in the question. Do not get scared by these kind of questions. Just break the question into different parts and you will have the answer with you. All right. So the first part of the question says, which of this method is used to test differences among the means of the population? Okay, so out of the four, first figure out with what all tests can you test the differences among the means of population irrespective of the number of groups. And then see in which test would you use a variation within each of these samples. Okay, so if you can boil down or draw down to these two parts of the question, you will have the answer with you. It's basically defining one of these tests in the question. If you have your answer in hand, let's see what the right answer is. And it is indeed ANOVA, which tests between group variance and within group variance. Okay, t-test also measures the differences between the groups, but it does not take into account the variance into that perspective as ANOVA does. And of course, chi-square and coefficient of correlation do not test the differences in the means of the population. So I hope you have understood why ANOVA is the correct answer for this question. Let's move on to the next question. Arrange the following steps in proper sequence for a randomized controlled trial. Make necessary exclusions, select suitable population, reference or target population, select suitable sample, randomize to form experimental group and control group, manipulate, follow-up, and assessment. Before you look at the four options, understand that you have to arrange these 5 steps in a proper sequence for an RCT. Now look at the 4 options given below. Okay, so your first step could either be statement A, B, or C. And in the 4 options, your last step could either be option D or E. Would you start with making necessary exclusions or selecting suitable population or selecting suitable sample? What would you start with? And what would you end with? Would you end with randomization or would you end up with follow-up and assessment? This is how you should use the options in your favor. If you don't know the proper sequence, figure out in the 4 options what could the first step be. If you see, 2 options have statement A as the first step, 1 option has statement B and 1 option has statement C. And the last step is either D in 2 options and E in 2 options. I hope you have chosen your answer, and let's see what the correct answer is. It is option 3, B, C, A, D, E. So you start with the population, identify which target group you want to have the study on. From that target group, you will select your sample. From that sample, you will make the necessary exclusions based on your inclusion and exclusion criteria. Then you would randomize the included participants into the experimental and control group. And finally, you would manipulate, follow up, and assess the participants. So that would be the proper sequence for an RCT. I hope these little tips and tricks are helping you solve these questions. So let's move on to the next question now. Similar to the previous question, it asks you to arrange the following steps of research in correct sequence: problem identification, data collection, choice of research design, hypothesis generation, data analysis, and reporting. So in the same way, first try and arrange these 5 statements in an order by yourself. Then look at the 4 options. Is the first step going to be statement A or statement E? And is the last step going to be statement E, D, or A? Okay, so would you start with problem identification or would you start with data analysis? And what would you end it with? Problem identification or hypothesis generation or data analysis? How would you do your research? Let's look at what the correct answer is. So the correct answer is option 3, right? So you start with problem identification, then you generate your hypothesis. Then based on your hypothesis, you will choose the research design. Based on that, you will do your data collection and finally analyze and report your findings. So with that, we come to the end of this video where we have solved 10 questions on research methodology that appeared in the Home Science December 2025 UGC NET examination. I hope this video was helpful to you. I hope you got some insights into how to figure out the answer in case you didn't know what the actual correct answer was. And if you found this video helpful, do give it a like, share it with your friends and colleagues who are also preparing for the exam. Do subscribe to Scholars Mentor if you haven't done it yet. Thank you for watching.